My name is Tom McCallum. I was born in Isle of Lacrosse, Saskatchewan, a Métis community. Kimutsagan. It was totally different from what it is like today living in a city. There was lots of room to run around, nothing to worry about basically as a child. And houses were far apart. We had a lake there. And everybody that I knew spoke Michif, or what we called Cree at the time, but it was mixed with French and Cree. So it was, I really, really missed that kind of lifestyle. Oh, that would be 1983 was the last time I lived there. I had already left and gone back for about 4 years. Then I left again and came to British Columbia, and I've been living here ever since. But I do go back to visit, every summer. One of the things that I remember that sticks to my mind a lot is my grandmother. She lived alone because her husband had passed away. But she fended for herself. She trapped, she snared rabbits. She didn't set a net. What she did was she had a line with a hook on it, and that's how she'd get her fish, because she didn't want to catch more fish than she could eat in one day, because we didn't have fridges in those days. Everything basically that we had, in order to preserve it, we'd have to smoke it. So she didn't want to be doing that with a bunch of fish, because that took time away from the other activities that she needed to do, such as picking berries. And then us as children would go visit her, and we'd cut wood for her, and we'd haul water, and sometimes we'd bring the odd duck or partridge, sometimes little birds that we killed with a slingshot, and she'd cook them up. And she'd make a stew out of it, cook some bannock. Then she'd have us sitting on the floor in front of her, and she'd start telling us stories in our language. Iginihiawit, igito Ahman. Tayo kiyon ang magagiat sa mustagwa. Nana, toch suswatsana. Tayo kiyon, igiwit tamagwa. Muy mga bata po yung gisiksinan nos kagisiga. I can't remember them very well, but I do remember some that she told us. And one that she used to just tell us just about every day and every night just before we went to bed was Chips Sagon is what she called it. And it's called the Cree Creation Story, and the title of it in English is Rolling Head. Kaya sumisa ugot ay giwigit piak na piu tawa hamigi sikasut ego wiwa wapi megwan igi sikasut ugossa ustisa mawana wisaki chaki sikata ego sim mawana usimsa wimso sogi sikasut. There was a family that lived a long time ago. They lived a beautiful life in a bush. And there was lots of game. Everything that they could possibly want was around there. Just about a Garden of Eden where they lived. The man's name was Tawaham. And Tawaham means balance. Or you hit the bullseye. And the wife's name was White Feather. And they had two boys. The oldest boy's name was Wisaki Itzak, and he helped around. He was very, very good at helping around, and he had chores to do. The younger brother was called Wimsusu, and Wimsusu kind of means like it's kind of a little bit lazy, is what it means. He didn't do very much because he was young. He just kind of fooled around most of the day exploring. Didn't help around a lot because he couldn't really do anything. He was too small. And they lived like that for many years. And everyone had a role. Tawaham had a role. White Feather had a role. But White Feather was kind of like, she was in charge of the teepee where they lived. They lived in a large teepee. That was her domain. That was her fire. And everything that she did in there reflected her personality. And she was in charge of it. Now she had a duty to go and get water. Every morning she'd go get water. And sometimes at night. She used the water during the day, she'd go get it at night. And of course, Tawaham did the hunting. And as time carried on, because they lived there for many, many years, and they didn't seem to age a lot, he had to go further and further out to find game, and he stayed out longer and longer. In secret, with nobody's knowledge, Whitefeather was making this beautiful white buckskin dress with fringes on the bottom, fringes along here. And she had these little shells that she hung from there too. It was a beautiful dress. And it was a surprise for her husband. She wanted to make it for him to show him how much she loved him. And she had long, long black hair. Came right down to her ankles. And every night she'd brush it. Took very, very good care of herself. And she took very good care of everything in a teepee. Make sure that everything was in order the way that she wanted. Kept everything clean, ready for the next thing that she was going to do. And there's one day Tawaham left, and he was gone for quite a few days. He didn't return. So Whitefeather would go get the water, but she was taking longer and longer each time that she went down. Wisakitsak kind of wondered why his mother took so long. But it was kind of a thought. And so then he noticed that she started to neglect some of her duties, and Wisakitsak picked up where she left off. Then she started wearing that white buckskin dress, and it started to get soiled, and she never took care of her hair, and her eyes changed. It's like she was under some kind of a spell. And this one day he thought, well, I'll follow her, see what's happening. So she had to go through the woods to get to the lake to get water, and Wisakitsak followed behind her, just out of earshot. And whenever she'd turn around to check, he'd hide behind a tree. She got to the clearing, and the lake was there, right there. As soon as she got to that clearing, she started running toward the lake, and there was a big stump close to that lake, and she ran over there, threw her pail down, and knocked on that stump 3 times. And out of that stump, these serpents come out. And they started crawling all over her, and she was caressing them and kissing them. And Wisakitsak saw that, and he was shocked. He didn't know what to think. And his heart started to beat. He thought, something's going on here, something that I don't understand. And he didn't know what to do. So he ran back through the forest. He went back home. And just as he got there, his dad got there too. Tawaham told him the story. And Tawaham said, it seems like your mom is under some kind of a spell with these serpents. He said, we have to help her. And we're going to do our best, he said, to help her, see if we can break that spell. But in the event that we cannot break that spell, he said, here is a pouch, a medicine pouch. He said, in it there's 4 gifts. You must never, ever use these gifts any other way than what I have told you. And you can only use them one at a time. They have one power, and you have to use it in a good way. He said, you make sure that you heed my words. When danger comes close to you, you dig into that pouch. You take one gift out, and you throw it over your shoulder, over your right shoulder, and it will help you. You must follow these instructions. And if we cannot defeat her, cannot help her in any way, you must take your little brother and run away. He said, don't stop for any reason, no matter what you hear or anything that you see. Keep going.